Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Meyer, and I'm the Communications Manager at Vectorworks. I wanted to take a moment to welcome and thank you all for attending the third Vectorworks Design Summit. You'll notice in the back of the room that we are, in fact, recording the event, and we will be archiving it on the 2018 press page beginning on Thursday, so make sure to look out for it there if you want to rewatch this. In a moment, I'm going to invite our VP of Marketing, Dan Monaghan, and our Senior Marketing Director, Jeremy Powell, up to give our What's New in 2018 presentation. Following, we will open the floor for a few minutes for some general questions. However, since you all have one-on-one interviews with our CEO, we're going to ask that you hold your really specific questions for that time. With that, let's explore Vectorworks 2018.
Hey, thanks, Lauren. So my name is Dan, and this is Jeremy, and we'd like to talk to you a little bit about Vectorworks 2018. We're super excited about this release. I think it's very typical when a software company makes a product announcement like this. They tend to talk about how big the feature release is, right? How many innovative features they're releasing, or they always talk about how they listen to their customers, how all of these features come about through direct customer feedback. And Vectorworks is kind of renowned for this. If you look at the past two releases, Vectorworks 16 and 17, we've introduced over 75 new features and hundreds of enhancements, mostly all coming directly from customers. And 2018 is no exception. It's another really feature-rich release. But when I looked at 2018, one of the things that I noticed is that not so much the features, it's really the way the engineering team put the features together and connected the features to create workflows for our customers that allow them to work faster and smarter. So I think the big benefit of 2018 is not necessarily the number of features, but really the workflow benefits that we can offer our customers. Nowhere is this concept or theme of connection more evident than in the new multiple modeling view technology. Multi-view in 2018 is a really fantastic interface improvement. It helps customers connect 3D modeling, so we can actually begin a modeling operation in one window and complete it in another, so it makes modeling very fast and efficient. And it also helps to connect 2D to 3D. So as we're modeling in one window, we can see dynamically how those changes are affecting our two-dimensional plans, or vice versa. If we're working in a drawing view, we can see automatically how that change will affect the three-dimensional view. And the implementation of this technology is pretty unique. If you look at some of our competitors, if you look at programs like ArchiCAD or SketchUp, this concept of multi-modeling or multi-view is just simply missing. If you look at programs, conceptual modeling programs, maybe FormZ or Rhino, they have no concept of a drawing, so this interaction between 2D and the 3D drawing just is simply impossible. And the implementation in programs like Revit is, while they have multiple windows, they kind of get cluttered. It's kind of a messy implementation, and they're not active or dynamic. You can't start an operation in one and end it in another.
Yeah, so here's a little bit of what Dan's talking about, and he really shared a couple of key points there, and really the concept behind what is unique about the way Vectorworks is doing multiple modeling views is that connection between the view panes. Really an extension of the way designers are thinking. And so when we looked at what other people were doing, there's some great implementations in advanced animation packages and things like that, but not in particularly in the AEC world, there's not this level of flexibility and dynamic interaction between the multiple views and then the actual tools. So if you were paying attention on screen there, you saw things like being able to use tools to do an alignment of objects, or a duplicate array. I wanted to put multiple windows in there. I wanted to start a rendering in one view while I continued in another. And then what's really kind of exciting about this implementation is the graphics behind it. We put a lot of energy into making sure that the graphics engine that we use, the Vectorworks graphics module, was able to support this concept of a wireframe view or a hidden line view while also doing more advanced rendered views. So that's a really great new technique, and this is also this connectedness of all of the views together is also really the motivation behind our next feature here.
So direct section and elevation editing. So this is another feature in which we can kind of see this theme of connection, really connecting the three-dimensional model to the extraction of the elevation and the section drawings. And these drawings are now live, so we can actually design in section and elevation view, which is a really nice improvement.
Yeah, and so to kind of illustrate that, you see here we're on a, this is a sheet layer, this is a drawing sheet. We see a section view. Typically what you see in a design process is when you look at that section, you notice something you want to tweak, something that's not right. You don't want to be going back to a different view, make the change, and then come back in. You want to be able to just do it live. And so direct section editing, here we've double-clicked to get into it. We've actually changed the view temporarily to really understand what we're doing here. We moved a door in the wall. As you can see, that then updated in section view live. And then we have additional tools that we can use. There's really no limit here, and that's what's beautiful. It's truly a live connection to the model view. And you can just imagine how much time you would save in a typical workflow where you're not having to go back and forth between the views. You're really just making the change right where you need it.
Yeah, that's a really nice improvement. Another improvement that we made, it's actually a group of improvements that we made to kind of complement the wall sectioning tool, is the improvements that we made to walls. Walls are kind of fundamental building objects. And we spent a lot of time in Vectorworks 2018 making sure that the graphical quality of the walls is very high. So when we extract a 2D drawing from a model, it shows with the correct graphical attributes, the correct line weights, the correct fills, and the correct hatch patterns.
Yeah, and here's an example of what Dan's talking about. And it's actually something that at Vectorworks we've been very proud of for a long time, is that the graphic controls that we have been delivering has been kind of where we gained a lot of our earliest customers. And in wall construction, it's incredibly important to be able to get the section and elevation views very accurate. And when you're cutting that from a model, that sometimes can be difficult to get it just right. So here's just a typical sort of section and elevation view of a standard wall connection. And what's nice is in 2018, we added this new ability to control the multiple components at once. So when I'm trying to do a complicated yet fairly standard wall to slab connection, I can make that edit in a single operation.
And the drawings are completely accurate.
Yeah, so really great enhancement to the modeling and documentation connection we have.
Subdivision improvements. This was a technology that we introduced in the last release in 2017. If you're not familiar with subdivision, it's basically an open source technology that we licensed from Pixar, the animation company. And what it allows our customers to do is to really directly model and freeform model to create any shape. So we can create surfaces and solids. Now, why is this important? When we're talking with prospects, these are customers that don't use Vectorworks, it's extraordinarily typical to find firms that are using front-end design programs like SketchUp or Rhino, and then they're working their conceptual designs and models in those programs, and then they're completing the design in a program like AutoCAD or Revit or ArchiCAD. And that workflow is a little disjointed. It would be fine if those changes only had to happen once, but design is iterative, and in the design process, we're constantly updating between conceptual models and final construction documentation. And to be able to link or connect 3D modeling in Vectorworks, and specifically the improvements that we made in subdivision makes it very easy for our customers to connect concept all the way through to construction documentation.
Yeah, and so here's just a simple example. It's going to move a little quickly, but in subdivision, what's very nice is the usability that you get. So you're getting that power of a program as complicated as something like Rhino, yet you're merging it with kind of the intuitive nature, the mode-based application that you would get in Vectorworks traditionally, or programs like SketchUp. And so what we've done specifically in this release is added the ability to kind of put a cage around any 3D geometry and then subdivide that geometry with familiar modes like adding faces, splitting faces. You saw the intuitive nature where it was highlighting naturally what you were about to select, and it gave you that feedback directly. So it's a very quick process for you to start from scratch or take something that's existing and subdivide that into its final sculpted form.
This direct modeling concept is kind of unique to Vectorworks, and we've actually extended it in 2018 to the site modeling capabilities. So now when a customer creates a site model and they generate their 2D contours, these 2D contour lines can be edited dynamically. We can push and pull on the control points, almost like a polyline in Vectorworks. So it gives the designer a great degree of control over to how these contours are to be formed, and they can really just fine-tune the digital terrain model to get the exact look that they need for their particular project.
And you can see here as this goes into 3D, you know, that continued connected 2D, 3D flow for a site model. So it's a much faster way for viewing your proposed changes on a site. So this concept also exists in Marionette, doesn't it, Dan?
So Marionette, this was a technology we introduced 2 years ago. This is this concept called graphical scripting, and basically what it allows is a non-computer program, a designer, to generate scripts to automate a lot of routine or complex even design tasks. What's really unique about the implementation of graphical scripting in Vectorworks is that it's integrated into building information modeling or computer-aided design program. And this integration or connection between graphical scripting and BIM and documentation offers our customers a lot of advantages, workflow advantages. And this integration or connection between graphical scripting and BIM and CAD documentation is even extended in Vectorworks 2018.
Yeah, and for those of you that maybe are a little less familiar, one of the things that is additionally very nice about the way Marionette's implemented is the underlying scripting language is Python-based. So it's not a proprietary format. It's an open source, in fact, the most popular open source format for scripting. And it also provides a lot of power as well. And so what we've done in 2018 is leverage the power of that scripting underneath and added a new capability to easily convert Marionette networks into Vectorworks commands. So whether it's you yourself getting it, whether you're browsing the Marionette gallery on our website where they share these resources, you can take these sorts of Marionette networks and integrate them in your workflow, which is really fantastic. And then lastly, on the improvements in 2018, we've also added several new nodes and Marionette network objects that are very popular. You see them in places like the Grasshopper community. So we're really trying to make it very simple for those that are familiar with other graphical scripting engines to try out an integrated scripting engine in a BIM environment.
Another place you'll see this kind of theme of connections is in worksheets. So Vectorworks has always had a database and worksheet functionality, and it really allows our customers to kind of connect design with analysis.
Yeah, and as you can see in 2018, we have some worksheets coming on screen here. We have a cabinet schedule, for example, here on screen. We had a door schedule there before that, and even a custom plant list here. What we've done specifically is taken the mystery out of worksheets. So, you know, a lot of programs are either using an external worksheet generator, or they're very cryptic. They're hard. You got to understand formulas in order to kind of pull out the information. And Vectorworks was no exception to that. But we knew that we had a calling to make this simpler. So what we've done in the worksheets in 2018 is basically made it possible for you to simply select the information you want from a drop-down menu. Named fields, for example. I want to grab door IDs. I want to grab the area of all spaces on floor 2. You know, these sorts of searches are possible in the worksheet, and you can get exactly what you want without having to understand the archaic formula.
This concept of linking design and analysis has also been extended to our irrigation tools. So in 2018, you'll find a new branch drip line tool that makes it easy to perform calculations for branch or snake drip lines.
Yeah, and then we've also extended that into entertainment. We have a couple of things in the entertainment world to talk about. In particular, one of the most exciting ones for the entertainment industry is our enhanced seating section command. So we've always provided the ability to do seating layouts, but what we really did was a pretty significant overhaul of this version where we created a much more robust and streamlined interface for optimizing seats in a venue. You see an example over here of a dialogue, and if you look closely, there's kind of these typical sections of how I want to plan my seating layout. And this is a very familiar interface for other Vectorworks tools, and we've extended that to the seating layout so that you can really easily say, you know, I have this many seats that I'm limited to. I want to have a particular alignment along an edge. I want to do multiple seating areas and different symbol types. So there's a ton of flexibility, yet at the same time there's a lot of usability that's been programmed into this enhancement this year.
And also for entertainment design professionals, we're really happy to introduce Braceworks. It's a new module that plugs into Vectorworks Spotlight that makes it very easy to design these temporary truss-like structures that are very common in exhibit and entertainment design.
Yeah, and for those of you from the entertainment field, you heard me talk about this back in April when we pre-announced Braceworks. But what's really exciting about, I think, what's been developed since then is we've really fine-tuned it with the help of several structural engineers and with the help of PRG, specifically PRG in Germany, who was a big proponent of us building this solution. In fact, it's a solution that doesn't really exist. You know, there are structural engineering applications, of course, but there's nothing geared towards temporary structure. And in the entertainment industry, understanding the safety concerns, the load, the static load of what you're about to hang is incredibly important. And really, for the first time now, with the launch of Braceworks, we're in this unique position at Vectorworks where we're delivering the best design tool in Spotlight with the really the only option in analysis in Braceworks, and of course we have a vision for previs. So we have this kind of total design to production workflow that is not anywhere else in the industry.
Improvements to IFC export. So here again, you know, kind of making it easy for our customers to connect with others involved in the design and the construction market.
Yeah, no secret, Vectorworks and Nemetschek as a whole is a big proponent of OpenBIM, big supporters of the Building Smart International and the IFC standard. And this, you know, we believe very heavily that OpenBIM is the right way to accomplish the building information modeling process. And the one thing that we've heard over and over again from everybody, not just our users, but other users, is how complicated it is. You know, hey, that's great, we agree we shouldn't be locked into one vendor or a closed system, but you know, why is it so hard for me to learn? And so what we've done in 2018 is a seemingly small improvement that has a large impact. And what that improvement is we've taken the object information palette, which is really the lifeline of Vectorworks. It's where all changes are being made on objects. And we've said, right, this is where all information exists, so that's where IFC needs to exist. So in the data pane on the top right there, users of Vectorworks are able to assign, manage IFC data for all objects, whether they're Vectorworks objects or objects that came in from another package, and you can manage custom P sets and all of those wonderful things, and be certain that you're going to be able to do a clean import or export of your model.
To complement the OpenBIM and IFC workflow, we've also improved the Revit import that we introduced in the last edition, 2017 of Vectorworks. The improved Revit import options gives our users greater compatibility and collaboration with Revit users. It also allows them greater access to product manufacturer data that could be found on the web in the RVT file format. And I think we're still the only BIM program that's supporting the Revit file format natively, correct?
I think that's right. I mean, don't quote me on that. But last I checked, we're still the only ones that are really, really pushing this initiative. It's been part of the Open Design Alliance toolkit, and we launched this last year. And this year, I can say nobody's doing it like we're doing it in 2018. And what we've done in 2018 is we've added to our implementation. We've taken the RVT files and said, okay, we want to add some controls on the import options. We want to add the ability to simplify meshes and control the impact that the Revit file has on my overall file in Vectorworks. But maybe more important than that is we've added this option to import Revit objects into native Vectorworks objects. And so what that means is I'm removing a step. Before it would just be geometry. It'd be analogous to bringing in a 3DS file or something like that, which is great. But now this model came in, and that door is a door in the wall. It's not something I have to take the geometry, clean it up, edit it, convert it to a door. It's come in and it's a door in the wall, and I can very easily continue my design process from there. So really a fantastic time-saving improvement, and as I said, I don't think anybody else is doing this today.
No, it's really a fantastic implementation.
And then, not to sell ourselves short, Revit, of course, is an important part of the workflow in landscape architecture as well. And so what you see here is just a simple visual example to kind of take that native object step one step farther, where we have the building in, and as a result of the building being objects in Vectorworks and not just geometry, we're able to actually take care of planning out the green roof.
And lastly is connecting to presentation. So a lot of what we need to do as designers is to communicate, and sometimes to customers or clients who can't read a 2D blueprint, right? So by giving customers this ability to really integrate or connect to really powerful rendering and presentation capabilities, it gives our users a competitive advantages. They can differentiate their firm and really win more work with this type of technology.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, we use CineRender. It's the rendering engine by our sister company, Maxon, makes Cinema 4D. And what's very exciting about the upgrade this year is we've upgraded CineRender to release 18. And what that does is it exposes some features that really help the visualization process. It leads to better and faster rendering, particularly of interiors. It gives us the ability to expose what's called parallax mapping, which is it's a methodology that's less memory intensive than displacement mapping, and there's really a whole host of other improvements that are arrived from the upgraded RenderWorks. One of those improvements, the projector's washing it out a little bit here, one of those improvements is the metal shader. And so with the metal shader, we're able to control the rendering style of metal from smooth to brushed to really create a realistic approach for metal in any rendering. And then maybe even more exciting than that is the cloth shader. The cloth shader is, I think, a game changer for us in the sense that interior renderings, scenic designs that really require this creation of a realistic scene were very difficult before because it's just that hard to get cloth to appear right. And so the shader just makes it an incredibly simple process.
We also made some improvements in 2018 to our cloud connection. So we're making it easier for Vectorworks customers to leverage our Vectorworks cloud services. Cloud services is free for members on VSS, the Vectorworks Service Select program. It gives them storage, an easy place to archive project and share archive project files and to share project files. It also allows them to take computationally intensive tasks like photorealistic rendering and offload those to the cloud. And then in 2018, there's some very interesting 3D web viewing technologies where we could actually create web views that could be viewed in any browser. So they could be looked at on a desktop, they could be looked at on a tablet, and they could also be looked at on a phone.
Yeah, it's really amazing where it's going. Last year we introduced WebView as a single-click method of, just simply go to the menu, export WebView, and get your model out in a link that you can share with anybody and that you can do a virtual reality experience with. And what we've done in 2018 is enhance that with a couple of really nice new features. Number one is it recognizes the clip cube in Vectorworks. The clip cube is a way to kind of isolate exactly the view of the design of the model, and then that exports. In addition, it gives you control over branding. You can add your own custom logo. You can do additional styles, things like white card rendering or draw edges. These sorts of things all lead to a really improved overall visual experience for WebView. And what we typically see here in this view here, we're showing how you can also now control whether you can walk through objects or run into them. But what's really great about this is that it's taken the visual style forward without impacting performance terribly. So what you do is we see a lot of our customers using this as an iterative back and forth. Hey, here's this concept, go check this out, experience this, let me know what you think of what I'm proposing to you. And that's a great addition, but to take it one step further, we've also added another new feature in our rendering and visualization called rendered 360-degree panoramas. And so if WebView is great for that iterative process, in my mind, the rendered panorama is great for that final look, for that really is going to sell you as a designer, sell your firm, sell the projects that you've done. What it does is it gives you the ability to do a final quality render of a design from a fixed point in 360 degrees. And again, as Dan was mentioning, this is all hooked into the cloud environment. So I'm able to tell it to render to the, to do that into our cloud services account so I can continue working. And here's an example of a final quality render of a stage doing that fixed point 360-degree turn. And if you can imagine, this is just it's a JPEG that you can interact with. Most of you have experienced this on, with panoramic images that you do on your phones or on social media sites. And you can simply use this and use it as a sales technique, sending it to whoever you want or hosting it on your own website.
There's examples of both the web view and the rendered panorama on the press page. So I'd encourage you to download both of those. Look at them on your desktop, look at them on a tablet, and look at them on your phone and kind of experience this technology for yourself. Now in entertainment design, these rendered views are extraordinarily important, but in production, they really are getting into what we call pre-visualization. This is actually pre-visualizing a show before any stage is set or any light is hung. And we've made some dramatic improvements to Vectorworks Vision 2018 to make this process much more realistic.
Yeah, we really have. I'm going to play this and talk over it a little bit. But what we've done is a couple of years ago, you may recall, we purchased ESP Vision, which is a previs package, and since then, at that time, we talked about how we were going through this integration process, integrating it into the Vectorworks kind of portfolio of products, and what we've done is really put a huge focus on two things so far. We've simplified the exchange by having just a send to Vision command that sends your entire design from Spotlight into Vision. And then the other key thing is added performance and usability improvements. So we continue to do that every opportunity we can, every few months or so, where we're adding, improving the speed, the frames per second, you just saw some things like a bloom effect, haze, things of that nature. And so what's unique about us is that while previs exists in many forms in the industry, we're really taking the opportunity to create a quality, dependable experience that's connected to the actual lighting model. And so we're excited about where it's going. We continue down that path, and that's
Yeah.
our presentation, right?
Yeah, before I turn it over to Lauren, I just want to kind of thank you guys for your time, and it was, hopefully we'll get a chance to meet each other personally at the happy hour. I think, again, when you look at Vectorworks 2018 and you look at the breadth of the functionality that we offer, it truly is a milestone release in our history. But again, more than the number of features, it's really how these features are going together to connect workflows to help our customers work faster and smarter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I just hit it twice? Okay. Thank you, Dan and Jeremy. A lot of great information. We're going to begin taking a few questions. Before we do, I want to invite our VP of Product Management, Derek DeHart, up as well to field some questions. All right. Who would like to go first? Karen?
Sure, this is a feature we've had for a long time, and generally it comes from the parameters of the objects themselves. So if you have a door or a window or a spotlight object, it will pull it out of those parameters. If you want to add your own data, you can add custom records, and then that is a data entry process. So it supports both.
And just to kind of follow up, I think that the other place the data comes from is just the geometry itself. So Vectorworks is very good at just calculating geometry. So things like perimeter, square area, surface area, volume, those are also automatically being able to, that data is being able to be derived automatically from the models and the drawings.
So like plants that you're using, for instance, those are coming from some other place where the data exists with each file, and you're just importing it.
Right, with plants specifically, we have a plant database, an external plant database,
Okay.
and then that can be imported into Vectorworks.
Okay. Rupinder?
Great stuff, a lot of good things going into the product. I was curious about the subdivision modeling. Is that new for this release? Or is that
Pass it back.
I think it was a couple of years ago.
Subdivision modeling, that's not new. It's something that was maybe released 2 versions ago even. But every year it's we evolve it and improve it, add new editing modes.
Yeah, and I think the advantage of technologies like subdivision surface and Vectorworks is really giving Vectorworks designers this ability to have a great set of really robust 3D modeling tools in their BIM program. So as I mentioned in kind of my anecdote, when we're going into firms and we're analyzing their workflow, particularly prospects who don't have Vectorworks, what we find is that they're typically using this conceptual modeling program at the front end. So by giving them a really robust set of modeling tools at the front end and then linking them with building information modeling, we're providing a really great workflow that's kind of connecting concept all the way through to construction documentation.
And where does the modeling come from? Is that from the geometric engine, or is that internally developed?
No, it's licensed from Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a licensed library.
Start making movie characters?
And that's why they developed it. I mean, yeah, but it's public. It's publicly available, obviously.
Anthony?
Yes, the vision animation you showed at the end there, which was quite impressive. Is that Maxon's rendering technology that's powering that vision animation, or?
No. That's a simple answer. The product we bought a couple of years ago called ESP Vision. It's their own proprietary visualization engine that they prepared, and it's still sold as a standalone application to do that previs process. So what we send over right now is model and texture information, and of course all the information about the lights themselves, so they know how. Yeah, exactly.
I think the important part in that vision workflow is then the cues. More and more of these shows are automated, and so all of those cues are pre-programmed into the board, and that's another advantage that vision gives, is that not only can we do this pre-visualization, but then I'll help to do the automation of the queuing.
Anybody else? Karen? I hate to ask this. I don't want to downplay anything that you've introduced. I think it's great, but I see that you're, doing walls and doors and things like that, and you're in stage design and lighting. What else do you see for Vectorworks? Where? I mean, I can just imagine this being anything.
I mean, yeah, that's a great question. So, through our history, we started off as kind of a general purpose, three-dimensional CAD program. And through this evolution, what we did is we actually started tailoring Vectorworks for different industries. And so the industries that we're focusing on are architecture, engineering, construction with Vectorworks Architect, the landscape, site design, urban planning market, and Vectorworks Landmark, and then the entertainment design market with Spotlight, Braceworks now, and then Vision. But there always is Vectorworks fundamentals, and it also is just a fantastic general purpose modeling and drafting program upon which you could do anything. And it's interesting when we look at our registrations, most of our customers are coming from one of the vertical market products that we sell, industry-specific products that we sell. But we have a number of customers that are just working on just incredibly unique things that you would never expect.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about the Pixar subdivision library again. How much headroom is there still in that library in terms of adding additional features off of it?
You know what? That would be a great question to follow up with BipLab tomorrow at your one-on-one.
I was just curious about your general process for collecting feedback from users. How does that work, and how would they implement it into the future research opportunities?
Sure. I mean, we have a beta program. We have an active beta list, and but we also have.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'll talk about it. So
But you don't know how the features
it's a pretty simple approach. We have a very large distribution network around the world that we have for 30 years at this point. And we rely pretty heavily on them in the local markets to do a lot of on-site visiting to collect user requirements and feedback. And then directly ourselves, we do a pretty fair amount of traveling around to observe workflows. But I would say the number one thing still to this day is a very active user community. And I think one of the things that's always been kind of interesting about the Vectorworks approach is the interaction that the community has directly with the senior management, senior developers, things like that. They really, that interaction that we've always been able to maintain has been really crucial to them opening up and being honest about their wishes and their needs. So that's our approach.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of follow up on that, I think that listening to our customers is pretty wise. I mean, they're the actual ones doing the work, right? But sometimes we, as a technology company, need to lead. And so you're going to learn a little bit more about this here at the design conference. But there's things like AR and VR, which are becoming more important to the design market. These emerging technologies like graphical scripting. So in addition to listening to our customers, we always have our ear out for kind of new technology that we would think that would benefit our customers. The Pixar Open Subdivision library is another one where that wasn't necessarily, I think the request was for more direct modeling. So I think it's an advantage of Vectorworks, which is that we have an installed base that's very active, very vocal. You'll meet them here. They're great evangelists, and we can learn a lot from them. But at the same time, I think that as technologists, we really need to help pull them along sometimes so that they can take advantage of the latest in computing technology.
Anything else? We have time for a little bit more.
Okay. So is it possible to output to VR from Vectorworks right now?
Yeah, in fact, there's your R&D, interactive R&D studio. What are we calling it? The Vision. No, upstairs. So yes, we are able to. Go ahead. Sorry, I answered it wrong, Rupinder. I'm sorry.
Around the corner, when we get out of here for happy hour, we have a research table set up. So this is our team that develops these tools, and the guys are there ready to show it off. But yes, we can.
We do. Yeah. So that's what I was mentioning during when we were talking about WebView. Last year we started that. We had the cardboard, and that's what's been improved this year. So we still have the VR, but there's some futuristic enhancements to VR and AR that you should definitely check out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Dan, Derek, and Jeremy so much for fielding the questions. And you all will have plenty more time to ask lots of questions throughout the summit. As we wrap up, just 2 quick things. If you haven't downloaded the Design Summit app yet, please do so. You can do it through Google Play or the App Store and just search Vectorworks Design Summit. It's the best way to stay in the know for all our sessions and all the information about the summit. And then lastly, if you go out of the room to the right and then go right again, you'll bump into our Expo happy hour. So we really encourage you all to go grab a drink and mingle and start experiencing the Vectorworks Design Summit. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.